I'll have a closer look at one of the most innovative lure fishing rods called Titanium-T from Purelure. In general, there are plenty of ultralight and super ultralight rods for stream fishing, but there aren't many that can do this. This is fantastic and good news for us, trout and other species anglers in tiny streams. Unbreakable. Okay, let's have a closer look at this rod together. Before talking about the rod itself, let me quickly talk about extras you get with this rod. Okay, so first of all, this rod comes in a high quality bag. It's padded and it has two sections, as you can see, 1 and 2. And then also you are getting a hook keeper. If you use hook keepers, you have an option to use one that is included with the rod. Let's move back to the rod now. I guess I will start with the butt section first, so we'll move out the tip out of the shot. So as you can see, it has a split, very short split section. I would say from the end to the reel seat is about maybe 15 centimeters. So we have cork here and some aluminum cap, I believe. It has kind of narrow sliver with a carbon effect here, just to match the effect on the blank itself. Even though it's not an effect, it's a kind of wrapped carbon, but I will come to that a little bit later. So yeah, the cork itself, it's like, I would say this will be the best quality cork I ever seen. I hope you can see, you know, it's like, it looks almost like foam, even though it's not, it's cork. It has like no imperfections at all, so fantastic. And yeah, a little section of cork with a screw here. And the screw is below the reel, so I always like to see this deal on a spinning rods. From what I can tell, it's not a Fuji reel seat, but it looks like Fuji though. Then we have the same carbon effect here and nice finish above the reel. Nothing sharp really, so when you will be holding your finger onto the blank, you should be nice and comfy, or your main finger for bite indication should be nice and comfy. Okay, let's move on. Now we got some text. Quite a bit of text, small one too. I won't read it loud, so it just says Purelure specialty fish and rod model, that is 56XULS. And yeah, the same kind of X pattern on the carbon or on the blank. It has a kind of shiny finish, so it's not matte. And then let's move on to the first guide. Guide is kind of DKK titanium guide. I hope you can see something here. It says titanium on this leg, and then on the other leg it says DKK, I believe. So yeah, the guide itself for this, or the first guide should I say, is very well matched. Kind of small, but again, that's a trout rod. In my opinion, it matches the blank and kind of purpose of this rod beautifully. Okay, let's move on. Simple deal here. Joint section. Quite long though for a Purelure rod, because Purelure usually they have like a little bit shorter joint sections. Here it's a little bit longer. Okay, we talked about the butt section. Now let's move on to the tip. Just moved out that butt section out of the shot. Yeah, simple deal here. Then smaller guide on two legs, smaller guide on two legs, and as you can see, this spot is, or this area, the bit where this fancy finish kind of finishes or ends, if you will. And then guides are going smaller. This will be the first guide on one leg. smaller on one leg, smaller on one leg, and here you will see carbon joined the titanium. Okay, let's move on. Guides are going smaller, and last guide is of a kind of anti-wrap type. As you can see, it has this frame. The only probably negative I will say about this rod, that for this super fine tip, they should have, you know, used smaller guides on the titanium section. But I'm not saying that it will affect something. Maybe kind of responsiveness a little bit, but other than that, like balance feels right still. And also what's very important, you know, to mention that kind of those two last guide, they do have little kind of areas of bright thread used or paint not to set on anyway, but this is very important, and I always like to see something bright on ultralight and super ultralight rod. This is very important. So probably you landed on this video because of this section of the rod, even though the rest of the rod is very high quality. But let's talk about this section, right? So they're declaring that it's made out of titanium, which is kind of named TC4, which is like around 89% titanium. Like the rest 11% it's aluminum, vanadium, and other elements. But yeah, contents of titanium are supposed to be high. So numbers is one thing, and what it gives to the angler. Basically, what they did here really is made an ultralight rod that is really unbreakable. You see, carbon tips, solid or hollow ones, they used to break, or they do break in most situations when you have kind of wrap around the tip and when you wind in, and then this kind of a deal would break most carbon tips really quickly. For example, at this point, any super ultralight or ultralight tip would be gone. And here I can do things like that. I mean, at this point, most solid carbon tips would be gone. Tubular ones would be gone most likely at this point, but carbon ones, maybe they would go like that much. But here, I mean, this is insane. This is ridiculous. And see, the tip itself, it's kind of super fine. You would not be able to get as fine tip in the carbon rod or solid carbon section if it would be as thin as this titanium one. Would be like super fragile, probably. Like by doing just this, that tip would be gone. So let's quickly measure how thin this tip is. It looks like probably it will be the thinnest tip I ever seen. Probably 0.5 mils or so. It's a 0.8, I can't believe it. Wait. Yeah, it's less. So yeah, 0.6. Not even that, a little bit less. Yeah, 0.58 more or less, 5.9, 5.7. So yeah, it's under 0.6. So yeah, this will be the thinnest tip I ever seen. And yeah, I mean, I don't have to be like very careful when handling this tip. It is insane. So trout anglers, as I said, will be super happy, and I'm certain that Purelure will sell, you know, hundreds if not thousands of these rods. Price is right, and you know, performance is right too. And if you can have a rod that is unbreakable, this is fantastic. But just look, I mean, I'm not even trying, you know, to go like very slow. I just can go This is insane. And yeah, soon I guess it will be like when someone will push these tips too hard, there will be some methods how to straighten out titanium tips instead of, you know, repair carbon tips. But yeah, just look, I mean, it is insane. So yeah, let's count the guides now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 guides in total for a short rod. This is fantastic news. Here we go. 50, that's not bad at all. 50.1 or 51 grams roughly. Okay, let's see if we can get that tip on. Come on. Here we go. No, that's not right. It should be a little bit more, I think. No, that's it actually. It's quite difficult to balance this rod and this setup, but yeah, 57 grams. This is fantastic. Let's see if that's really right, because just making sure I'm not touching anything here. Yeah, 57 grams. This is fantastic. Really, really good job, Purelure. Yeah, and especially, you know, with a cork, but again, those are short cork sections. So now let's talk a little bit about, you know, performance and action of this rod. It's kind of very interesting. You see the tip itself, I would say on this particular model, it's kind of extra fast. Just see how, I mean, if I would start bending, only kind of tip bends. I mean, it's extra fast. I hope you can see it. Just like probably, I don't know, 10-15 centimeters of the rod would bend, so it's extra fast. But then if I would look at the carbon section of the rod, I would say it's somewhere between medium, actually, not even medium fast, but somewhere between medium and medium fast, like in the middle. So the action is very interesting, and I would say it's kind of perfect for trout fishing and using small grubs, you know. The fishing actually I like doing, as in using small silicone lures and or TPR lures, basically, not hard lures. So yeah, this will work just fantastically because that super light tip will allow me to sling those tiny lures very easily. And once I hook a fish, this kind of medium fast, more or less, action will kick in to land the fish. So yeah, combination is, in my opinion, kind of tuned towards trout fishing on soft silicone lures. Like on paper, this rod looks like it will be kind of the best rod for this type of fishing. Again, not necessarily it will have to be trout, but basically some stream fishing where you will have a lot of, you know, kind of weeds, bushes, and so on, where there is kind of likelihood of breaking the tip very high. You will have this unbreakable rod, which allow you to cast small grubs, you know. As I say, at least here in the UK, this rod is kind of tuned for trout fishing just like perfectly. Anyway, that's my opinion. So now when it comes to recovery times, since, you know, we have medium fast or between medium fast and medium action, recovery times are good for this action. And I believe carbon used for this blank is 30, 30 and 40 ton. So it's not kind of the highest quality carbon you can get, but it's still good, and it kept the prices very low for this rod. And as I say, it will just fly off the shelves, I'm certain, this rod. At least on paper it looks like it should. And when it comes to the balance of the rod, because most anglers will be asking and commenting, you know, how it feels like to have a metal tip, because, you know, that's metal, that's titanium. Basically the deal is as follows. I won't even bother about this tip, I just put my hands on it. So carbon kind of weight goes like that, so I will write it down. So it's around 2 grams per cubic centimeter. Titanium is around 4 grams per cubic centimeter, meaning that carbon is more or less 2 times lighter than titanium is. But since they used, very short tip and they used super fine tip, the balance kind of feels good or great, I would say. I can't feel, that this tip would be or this rod would be tip heavy, if you will, because, you would think, okay, carbon is 2 grams, titanium is 4 grams, so it must be very tip heavy, but this is not the case, because as I say, they used super fine tip just to, reduce the amount of weight at the tip. And to have this performance of the carbon, it would need to be most likely twice the thick almost, and the balance would be the same as here. But in this case we are winning because we can use smaller weights and we can't break the tip. So yeah, smart approach, and I like it a lot. And when it comes to the reel for this particular model 5.6, hope you can see the model, I would say go as light as you can. So I have here Casking Kestrel, probably one of the lightest reels available, and I will show you the balance. We'll connect the sections. Like with this particular reel, I have a perfect balance, which is just above the reel seat. I hope you can see it. And I can bounce around, and I hope you can see, that the rod is kind of nicely, almost ideally horizontal with this reel. So yeah, my recommendation will be Casking Kestrel. It's a nice reel. I used and abused it, and it's still, great. I will use it for a couple more seasons for sure. So yeah, reel wise, go as light as you can and as small as you can as well, because it's a nice short rod. Why put, something light but big? Just balance will be right, but some anglers will say, oh yeah, bigger reel will give me advantage because of a bigger spool I'll be able to cast further. Well, it is true to some degree, but this rod is not, for distance casting. If you'll gain, half a meter by using bigger spool, it might be the case, but then you will kind of hate yourself because you are using bigger reel that is just clunky. It does not feel right with this kind of slim profile, delicate rod. So all in all, high marks for this rod. Purelure, very well done. I want to thank you for kind of putting effort to innovating stuff, and rods in particular. And yeah, it seems that some or most of other rod manufacturers will be using this technique as well, as in producing technique, incorporating a titanium tips in ultralight rods. I will leave a link below in the description if you want to check this rod out. At this point, I can promise you that I will create a video or two where I'm testing this rod in a real situation, most likely a trout fishing situation, but you will never know. I might decide to take this rod out, and try to catch some big perch and big pike, and just to check out how the sensitivity is. As they say, on paper it looks fantastic and it feels fantastic, but yeah, time will tell. And I guess I'm done. Check those links in the description below if you are interested. Over and out.